spotlight event tonight. It is the women's all-around final, an individual medley of sorts that Michael Phelps can't do. And here we will watch the women's all-around final for Nastia Liukin and Shawn Johnson of the United States. It means a beginning on vault. Consider, since 1952, this event has been part of the Olympics. The thousands of young women in the United States who've had the dream of doing this. Only two have, Mary Lou Retton and Carly Patterson, and today the United States have two who are good enough to do it.
And they are certainly the front runners for this competition. Shawn Johnson, she is the reigning world champion. She has won virtually every title there is to win since she's turned a senior gymnast only about a year ago.
And I think for Shawn Johnson and for Nastia, especially coming into these games, she has looked spectacular. The best, I have to say, that I've ever seen this entire year. She has steadily improved throughout these competitions.
But starting on vault, remember, Shawn Johnson has a huge advantage. She starts a full 1 point higher than Nastia, and that is purely because of the level of difficulty she does on vault. But that'll change throughout the competition. For example, when they go to their second event, it is Nastia who has the huge advantage, 1.3 over Shawn Johnson on the uneven bars. It's going to be a back-and-forth race, I think.
Now, the Chinese are also part of this first rotation, Yang Yi-Lin and Jiang Yuan. And they, of course, have been unbeatable here. There have been 3 gold medals won, 2 teams, and yesterday the men's all-around, and all 3 were won by the Chinese.
Yeah, they can certainly contend right there. Yang Yi-Lin, she qualified 3rd into this competition. She equals Nastia Liukin's start value of a stratospheric 7.7 on the uneven bars. She's great everywhere.
And as you mentioned, Al, they're riding on that wave of a gold medal performance, and their coach, Coach Liu, has actually said he welcomes this competition. They firmly believe that the two that are in this all-around can challenge Shawn Johnson and Nastia Liukin.
You know, it'll be a bit deceiving for this young lady right here, Nastia. After the first rotation, I would imagine that she'll be down 4th, 5th in the all-around. But after that, she will have a steady and meteoric rise in the all-around ranking.
Now, this is going to be very interesting because Shawn Johnson has developed a little hitch at the end of her vault routine, and we'll see, starting in warm-up, whether she has been able to get rid of it. It's a crossover step on the landing. Well,
her coach Chow has said you got to over-rotate this, take a step forward. That's really not been the problem. If you look at one of her shoulders, it is down and hasn't completely rotated around. Let's see if she's... And that was actually much better. The reason she's been taking that crossover step is because her shoulders haven't completely squared at the end, and as she's landing, she's trying to square them up. And because of that, she's a little off balance and her weight shifts to the other side. But that one, I think that's probably the best 2.5 I've ever seen Shawn Johnson do.
And she could certainly improve on the score. Out of the 2 days of competition so far, the highest she's had on this event is a 16. And that was with those steps to the side on the landing. So that could make a big difference.
We will be using the term start value a lot in this competition. And essentially, every gymnast has a connection of skills in every event. It leads to a start value, and everybody begins every event with an execution of 10. So if you have a start value of, say, 6.2 and a 10, your maximum score would be a 16.2. Then the deductions begin. For Nastia, she has a start value that's almost off the charts.
On the uneven bars, yes, 7.7. And so you can think of start value or difficulty is it's additive. Each time they do a skill, the start value goes up. At the end of the routine, they take all of those skills, they put it together, and then the B score is what it's called. That's the deductions. So A score, what you do, B score, deductions. After you're done with that, add them together, that is the final score.
And for instance, on vault, with the start score already established, a 5.5, for Nastia, she relies on perfection. She relies on the form.
I find one of the most compelling things about these Olympic events, especially in gymnastics, if you allow yourself to think as you stand at the head of the runway, as Yang Yi-Lin is right now, that the next few seconds could change your life. If you allow yourself to think of the ramifications of that, it could be daunting. And we will begin with Yang Yi-Lin.
She does a beautiful vault. This actually out of a 5.8, so a little higher than Nastia and significantly lower than Shawn. But she is tremendous on her next event, the uneven bars. Double twist. Very nicely done. Super clean. That is what we will see from Yang Yilin all day long.
And just to put it in perspective, she had a 15-2. That was the best score that she received in the competition so far.
That could go a little bit higher. The only error is that obvious step, but we'll be talking about this all day long. She needs to have enough rotation so that she lands straight up and down. She has a little bit of a hip angle. You see that? She should be very straight in the hips, or she'll incur a deduction. But a great start.
24 women qualified for this all-around final. There is no score carryover, so for all the thousands of vaults that Nastia Liukin has ever done in her life, this is the only one that counts right now.
And they have been better than I've ever seen her do throughout the year. They have actually looked stronger, more powerful. She's going to try to rely on a perfect landing to boost the score.
15.175 for Yang Yilin. Born in Moscow, raised in the United States. She'll turn 19 soon.
Blind landing, so it's a little bit tricky.
Wow! Exactly what she needed.
Oh my! That gets a big kiss from fellow Olympic gold medalist, who happens to be her dad, Valery Liukin. That could not be more perfect. And, you know, we have been saying over and over again that Nastia has been on the rise. She had such a devastatingly difficult last year, battling with ankle injury. Her dad said she was out for almost a full year. This vault was almost impossible for her last year. That was beautiful.
And she saved the best for this all-around competition. As I mentioned, they've gotten increasingly better, and that's exactly what Nastia needed to do. Stick.
So her start value was a 5.5. She got deducted a little bit more than 4/10, and Nastia gets a 15.025. So China has the edge.
Yeah, but if you compare the execution of that vault compared to Yang Yilin, you know, Yang Yilin had a 3/10 advantage. Shawn Johnson, this is big time. 6.5 start value. This is where she needs to knock it out of the park. This is her advantage.
Same. The exact same thing.
I think a little bit better than we've seen in the prelims. Finished the turn a little bit, but you know, that step, and this is critical. You take a small step in gymnastics, it's 1/10 off. If it's close to a meter in length, they can take 3/10. This is really close, right in between that 1 to 3/10. But 2.5 twists, and you see that left shoulder, it's not completely around, and because of that, she's trying to whip it around at the very end. So let's watch right here, and keep a look at her left shoulder. It is not facing completely forward. Right there, it's not all the way around. She tries to bring it up, and because of that, you have the step forward and across the body.
Consider that Mary Lou Retton won her gold medal by 5/100ths. 88, 25/100ths. 92, 12/100ths. And so on. And there is Mary Lou Retton, who watches here, and Nadia Comaneci is in attendance as well. Carly Patterson won her gold medal by 0.176. That step could decide a lot.
Remember, the best that Shawn has received so far on vault has been a 16.
Which is a very big number. She was capable of more than that, but I don't know. And this is very scary. Very scary. If they start picking up that foam, there is a possibility that they could say that she did not complete enough of that twist, as I was saying, on the landing. And if that's the case, they could devalue that all the way from 6.5 to 5.8, which would essentially give a huge advantage to Shawn Johnson in this all-around race.
Because remember, with that start value, this was supposed to be the event where she built up a lead.
Well, the advantage goes to Nastia then, Tim.
Well, and when we just looked at the judges' screen right there, they still had a 6.5 up. So it's possible that they are just discussing the deductions. You see at the very top of your screen, Jury A, 6.5. That's the start score that they've got. That has not been authorized. There's a little green button at the bottom. And there is a head judge that is actually sitting closer to the stands.
They've given it to her.
And Shawn Johnson has got the edge that she needed here in the vault. 15.875.
But actually, a slightly disappointing score for Shawn Johnson. She knows that she's not happy with that.
To the second of the two Chinese gymnasts, Jing Yuan.
And they did not use her in the team final. She also performs a vault that's valued out of a 6.5, and it looks like, yes, she's going to do that today. Coach Liu said she had technical difficulties with this vault. They couldn't afford to use her for the team final.
Fell in this just moments ago in the warm-ups. Same vault as Shawn Johnson.
No.
And exactly what she did in the team qualifications and the finals. That a little bit surprising, and that will be devastating.
Tim, is it overstating it to say there goes the gold medal for her?
Well, I would say that it's virtually almost impossible. We would have to see a repeat of what we saw yesterday on the men's side. Just a lot of falls, but this was not even close.
Nowhere near the explosiveness that she would need to complete 2.5 twists.
Mom and dad in their home here in China with friends from the neighborhood watching. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The devastation in the room.
So, you know, with this changing in the scores, you know, they can score higher than the 10, but the deductions are equally more severe. It used to be 5/10 for sitting like that. That right there will be a devastating 8/10 deduction.
And she gets a very low 14.825. Now we go live back to the water cube, Michael Phelps' house, for the 100-meter fly semifinal.
You know, she comes to these Olympic Games very beat up. Her lower back, huge problem. But this is probably her best event, the uneven bars. And really was the reason that Romania in the team championships beat a stronger Russian team.
And that's what we've said all along. You can never count out the Romanian team, especially this young lady. Traditionally, we have said that the Romanians have not kept up with the trends on uneven bars, but she is their strongest athlete on this event.
She is, but you notice that there are leg separations. It's a good routine, but really not a great exercise. However, when you look at how high you can score on individual events, bars, the best place for her to start.
This is the event where the Romanians have Nadia Comaneci legacy. Simona Amenar winning the all-around in 2000 in Sydney. And Nistor looking like the leader with a score of 15.975. How does she factor into gold medal thought here?
Well, she really doesn't factor into gold medal thought, but she is certainly thinking about that bronze medal. And, you know, we saw already one of the Chinese gymnasts, Jiang Yuan, falling on her first event. She just needs a few more people like that to drop the ball, and she's right there.
I heard your reaction to Nastia Lukin's vault. It was of amazement. You said perfection, and yet she gets a score like she did.
It was wrong. I do not understand how it's possible the judges could come up with all of those deductions on that. If I sat down with the panel and I said, okay, show me where you took those deductions, they might be able to say it, but then we'd look at somebody else and it would not even be a comparison. That was wrong.
And Shawn Johnson, although she scored better than Lukin, didn't get everything she could have out of her vault score.
Well, you know what? She could have gotten a lot more. She did not earn a lot more, in my opinion. It was a little bit scary, you know. As we mentioned, when that judge picks up the phone, I thought there was a potential. They could have lowered the difficulty rating. They were just talking about deductions, and, you know, it was more than 1/10 of a point lower than she has done all throughout the championships. Valery
Lukin, Nastia's dad. He had one of the brightest smiles we've ever seen on his face when the vault was complete, but now they have to move on and focus on the uneven bars, and that is the place where Nastia can take advantage of her start value.
Yes.
Steliana Nistor of Romania, Shawn Johnson of the United States, Nastia Lukin right there as she moves to her strong uneven bars.
The warm-ups are continuing right now for the next apparatus, which is the uneven bars. And there you see Nastia Liukin, and she's probably thinking what we're thinking, what Tim Daggett just expressed. How did she not receive the mark she thought she was going to receive after what appeared, certainly to my less than expert eye, but also to you, to be a nearly perfect vault?
Bob, that was a solid vault, a very, very highly executed vault with great perfection, technically absolutely correct. And I don't know where they coming from with that type of deduction, but they applied here. So this is one of the things. Even more disappointing to me, Sean's vault, which is a highly difficult vault, is a 2.5 twisted Yurchenko vault. Technically very well executed, a small step at the end, 1 or maximum 2/10 of deduction. Where is the rest of the deduction coming from? So it is a little bit disturbing, but at the same time, I'm very glad the girls are solid. They are showing a sturdiness and a mental stability.
Since Shawn Johnson's start value on the vault was a full point higher, all right, Nastia was able to make up a little ground in the execution, but not as much as she probably thought.
Well, that's the truth. With execution, you can make up, but you really cannot rule the difficulty value. So the difficulty value is high, then you have to make adjustment, and you have to hope that for the best execution possible in order to keep going. Now, there's a different story going into the uneven bar, where exactly the opposite. Nastia is going with a very high start value, one of the highest in the world, and Sean with a lower start value. So Sean has to have a perfect execution in order to keep the momentum going.
The Romanian girl did very well on the vault. How good is she on the uneven bars?
She is considered a good uneven bar performer, even though the Romanians are not considered the best in the world on this particular apparatus. So she is a very, very capable gymnast, and we have to watch her.
All right, and we will watch it with Al, Tim, and Alfie. Al?
Okay, Bob, final warm-ups here for the uneven bars. Stiliana Nistor of Romania getting a very high score to take the lead in the all-around. We're keeping an eye on Vanessa Ferrari, a former world champion from Italy, but right now the focus is on the power brokers in the standings. Nastia Liukin has put off 16.9 up on the uneven bars in the competition here at the Olympics. It's the highest number we've seen from anyone. If she duplicates that, she's well on her way.
No question about it, and actually she has the highest start value of anyone in the world. There are 2 others that equal it. One of them is in the competition today, Yang Yilin, who also started very strongly on the vault. But, you know, if there's a place where Nastia has been a little bit shaky, it's a transition from the high bar to the low bar. It's called a pack salto, and this is in warm-ups. She does a release on the high bar. This is called a Tkachev, and it comes right after this. She'll cast to a handstand, and what has happened is she's been actually a little bit too close to the bar, and this one looks a little close, but actually done well. She has to be somewhat free and away from that low bar. She also fell in the first day on her dismount, but in the team final was phenomenal.
This is live.
Do a whole lot of intricate pirouetting skills.
This is where she gets a great number.
Big release right here. Very nice. All about handstands as well. Now this is where she has to have that freeness from the low bar. Pack salto down. Perfect. Actually a little bit far away, which we never see from Nastia. She'll do a double front with a half turn, try to spot the ground with her eyes right here. Going to be a huge, huge number. Yes, a big step on the landing, 0.3 of a point off, but Nastia Liukin having an Olympic day.
And this was a routine that was the master plan of her father. He created this routine, and she has told us she has put in so many numbers on routines back in the U.S., here at the Olympics, just training routine after routine to perfect those skills. Takes a huge risk.
Well, you know, with that routine and with Sean's start value, Nastia will be leading the 2 Americans, no question. Look at this transition, perfectly done. when she does that right, it's about as good as it can be. Getting ready for her dismount. She pikes her body here to allow her to get a big, huge kick right here, which gives her the power.
And in the first day of competition, she pulled a little too hard. The team finals, it was just right. And here,
spots that ground. Look at her. Eyes right on it. Almost perfect. Looked like she had a better step, better landing than that, but that looks like a pretty big step. So I'm saying the judges take 3 on that. But very, very strong for Nastia Liukin.
Not the 16.9 that we saw earlier, but a 16.65.
So, you know, I don't know if what we saw from Sean was maybe just a little bit of nerves, because, you know, maybe a minute and a half before she did her vault, she did what I thought was the best 2.5 I've ever seen her do. You know, there's nothing, there's nothing like competing in the Olympic Games, and this is, you know, beyond the team. This is certainly what this young lady has been dreaming about since she was a little girl. She said there is nothing wrong with saying, with hoping that you want to be Olympic all-around champion.
first test right off the top.
Do another release right here. Ooh, that was a little close. But handstands are critical. That one right there a little bit short. And that's how those judges get all those deductions.
But where Sean's highlight comes is right at the end. A very difficult dismount, needs to stick.
And that is all that she can do. That was big for Shawn Johnson. Remember, Nastia has a full 1.3 advantage start value-wise.
But Sean knew that coming into this competition. She knew that all she could do was try to be as perfect as she could in her execution, and she knew she had to stick.
You know, it's amazing, those two, they're actually roommates at the Olympic Games, and every morning they look at each other and they say, gosh, can you believe it? We're here. It's the Olympic Games. I wonder what they said this morning.
It's so interesting how both the gymnasts and both of the coaches are such a big part of their story.
And when we talked to Sean and Nastia back at the Olympic trials, they both said, you know, this is the time of our lives, but this is our life.
Look at how close she comes to the bar. If you're doing it perfect, it should be free, extended. Your elbows should be locked when you catch the bar.
But this dismount was gorgeous.
It was.
You have to admit, this difficulty on this dismount is what's going to help Shawn Johnson out tremendously.
And she avoids a landing deduction. Look at this. Double somersault, laid out position, 2 twists, 2 flips, super hard, spots that ground, grab it, and don't move.
And the highest she has scored so far has been a 15.35 on bars.
I would say this should be better. She does a giant with a lot of speed. You need a heck of a lot of momentum to get all of that done in one piece of air.
What's the number going to be? The beam is next.
Nastia has said that going 1-2, that's what we've been dreaming about, and hopefully we'll repeat. Wow, that is lower than I thought. Yet 8.975 execution level. With that stuck landing, I thought it'd be higher.
Where were the deductions, Tim?
Well, there was one place in that routine where if she goes beyond 30 degrees from handstand, they can and probably did take a full half a point off.
Wow. A couple of stinging scores for the two Americans. Now here's Jiang Yuan. She had that terrible landing on the vault, so she's trying to come back.
And it will be very difficult for her to do it. She's a very nice bar worker. Beautiful lines.
Has scored as high as 15.975, so really close to that 16 mark.
The thing that I love about her gymnastics, everything looks light. It looks, you know, on floor exercise here. She looks like she's just a little kid playing in a playground. Looks like fun. Well, that was what China Gymnastics has looked like in Beijing. Rough start on vault, but back on track. I don't know if she's going to be able to make up, you know, a devastatingly low first score.
When Nastia Liukin scored the 16.9 in the team competition, she turned to her teammates and said, "Don't worry, we're as good as that. We're a good team." Few people can concentrate like Nastia Liukin can. Now remember, the leader after the first rotation, and this women's all-around goes by in a blink with only 4 routines. Here's Stiliana Nistor of Romania following up her first uneven bars performance with this on the balance beam.
And actually, her best score at these Olympic Games on balance beam was a 15.15, and you know, we're watching her. Here's big tumbling run right here. Very nice.
I tell you, she has been coming on stronger and stronger. And in my mind, if there was one event that would define Romanian gymnastics, it would be balance beam. This is how we have watched Romanian gymnasts attack the balance beam in previous Olympics.
And I think the prevailing opinion in gymnastics was that Romania is done coming into these Olympics as far as their past glory is concerned. But they took a bronze medal in the team final. And Nistor on the first 2 routines in this all-around is saying we are far from done.
Yeah, they have a toughness about them. They have a huge history. It's like part of their culture. And they use that, you know, it's empowering to them. They, of course, didn't win the team here, but a little bit of a problem there. But Romania were back-to-back Olympic team champions.
And all they were hoping for was just to get back on the podium. Of course, not many people felt that they could do that as a team, but they snuck in to win that bronze medal.
Qualified 8th.
And that, folks, is a 15.55. So Stiliana Nistor of the legendary Romanians has done exceedingly well in her first 2 rotations, a 15.55 on the balance beam. So she has vault and floor still to come. Back live. You got to fill in the blanks and give me a caption here.
You know, they are all business. There is no question about that. And you know, the thing that strikes me right now, I look at the leaderboard and it has Nastia exactly where Dad Valeri wants her. He says that second is the absolute worst place for her.
Help out the frustrated viewers who watched her go, in your words again, perfect on the vault, and then Nistor goes up on the balance beam and sort of wobbles her way through that move that Nastia does so well, and wobbles again and yet gets a 15.55.
Well, you know, every panel, it changes throughout the Olympic Games, so you don't exactly know when the U.S. team goes to balance beam. Maybe it will be a little bit easier scoring on that event. We'll have to see when we get there. But I thought that Nastia's score could have been a little bit higher on bars. Certainly should have been higher on the vault. And even Shawn Johnson on bars, I was surprised with the score.
And remember, Nastia's going to balance beam. She is the current world champion on this event, and she has been almost perfect in both the competitions here at the Olympic Games.
Nastia has a little bit more than a point advantage over Shawn at this point.
I can tell you that Jin Yuan of China got a 15.875.
Very big number.
Now the Russians could use a dose of good news.
You know, they have had the most disappointing championships of any team. They came here, they thought certainly they would win the Olympic bronze medal for the team, for the women. They also felt strongly that they had the 3rd best men's gymnastics team, and they thought they had a shot to factor in the medal in the all-around. And actually they did, but mistake after mistake from the Russian delegation.
But Senya is the world champion on this event. She has scored as high as 16.475. This routine is unbelievable. Sky-high release skills.
And a lot of them right here for second.
She actually only competed on 2 events for her team at last year's World Championships, and she said she was so excited about coming to the Olympics to be in the all-around. She felt she could win the title.
Her dismount, very unusual.
But hard.
Very hard.
Wow.
Great exercise.
And Anna Pavlova of Russia is definitely in the mix. She was 4th after the first rotation, just a little over 3/10 out of being in medal contention. Semenova here, Pavlova on the uneven bars of 14.525.
So a disappointing routine for Pavlova on the uneven bars. But this score that we're going to see here from Semenova, it's going to be huge. Should not reach the level that Nastia had, but it's going to be very close.
It's one of those days that no matter what anybody tells you or says to you or shows you on tape, you just can't prepare for this day.
One thing Nastia did say back in the States at the Olympic trials is she didn't want to have any regrets. She said you can never get this day back, and that's what she was going to remind herself of at the Olympics.
Here's the final member of this group on the uneven bars, Yang Yi Lin. She is definitely still in contention.
Oh, there's no question, and she equals Nastia's start value, 7.7. There's only one other gymnast in the world that can claim that, and she is medaled worldwide on this event.
Has scored as high as 16.8 so far in her best score of the competitions.
Ksenia Semenova, 16.475.
Yeah, you know what it comes down to, you got to remember that Nastia took that big step, 0.3 of a point. So this was a great exercise. She stuck it. Got to stick the landing, Al.
Yang Yi Lin, 6th after the first rotation.
Beautiful pirouetting skills, very similar to Nastia.
And very similar body positions and lines and perfect handstands.
That castaway handstand a little bit short. Will be a deduction, certainly. But such quick pirouetting elements, and followed up by release skills. When you do a big skill like that combined with a release, you also get what's called connection, which adds to that difficulty or start value. So we are talking a great routine right here. Not good, but great, even with the step.
And you could argue Chinese confidence has never been higher.
This is one of the reasons why she was chosen to be on the national team, because of her uneven bar ability.
She started on vault along with Sean and Nastia, did a very nice first vault, actually came through round 1 a little bit ahead of Nastia in the all-around. And this is going to be very, very close.
The next rotation on the balance beam is going to be about as pressure-packed as these young women have ever experienced. Here's the dismount.
The only very visible error in the exercise. Perfect form. Just that step on the landing, and that's
about the length of Nastia's step.
Yeah, it's going to be close. It's hard to see from that angle exactly how far she stepped forward. Remember, if it's around the meter length, then it is 0.3. If it's smaller than that, 0.1 of a point.
Second rotation is winding down. Yu Yuan score still to be posted. We'll be checking the standings, and she gets a 16.725. And we have heard this cheer from the Chinese before at the National Indoor Stadium. The final moments of the first rotation will be tabulated, but right now, Yang Yu Yuan, Yang Yi-Lin of China has grabbed the lead with that 16.725. Shawn Johnson and Nastia Liukin move to the balance beam.
All right, tomorrow, by the way, Phelps will try to equal Spitz, and then we'll have an opportunity to go past him. Here are the standings after 2 rotations. We're back live with Bella Caroli. Bella, your reaction to what you've seen so far?
The American kids are doing good. I mean, I believe, they are in the good pace and they are composed. They are doing the very, very best what they can do. The scoring is different. I'm not satisfied with the scoring. I strongly believe Nastia Liukin deserved a higher score on the uneven bar, and definitely Shawn Johnson on the uneven bar also. Good execution, good solid routine, lower starting value, but for execution, deduction was brutal what she had to suffer.
But still, as we take a look at Liukin here, and you felt that she did not receive, again, what she might have deserved here.
But this is the best routine on the world. I mean, she's the highest starting value. With execution, with the style, with the way how she's performing it, this should be a higher score by the execution. She was deducted by the execution unfairly, in my personal opinion, and that's where the difference is coming out.
With less than 0.8 of a point between first and fifth, both Johnson and Liukin are still in good position.
Definitely. The competition is still open. Don't get me wrong. The competition is on, is going. The ladies are solid, they're looking good, and I can't predict right now what the final outcome. 2 events are coming up, 2 very important events. The purgatory of the women's gymnastics balance beam, and then the floor routine. Both of them are in a good performer, good beam performer, good floor performance. So that's going to be very, very important.
Here's Shawn Johnson.
Look at Shawn. Look at Shawn. He's a perfect form. It's a good execution, a solid execution. You can touch her too much on anything. Still, on the execution, she was deducted much that I expected.
And what do you think accounts for that?
That counts on different view of the judges. I'm looking from this angle, I'm looking on this angle, I've seen a little leg separation, I've seen a little bit of nagging balance or something like that. So different type of things can come in
so these could be legitimate differences in viewpoint rather than some kind of insidious bias.
Definitely. I don't see any major biasness on this point. I see discrepancies on the judges' score, and that's coming out from the final result, which is not quite the way like we are expecting.
All right, from the studio back to the National Indoor Stadium, and again, here's Al.
Okay, Bob, it is a subjective sport, and sometimes you just shake your head. Meanwhile, I'm holding the standings on a 4x6 index card, and after watching sports for all these years, I sometimes still can't believe that is essentially the space upon which Nastia Liukin will land her body on some of the moves that she will make. Here are the standings. Liukin trails by 0.225 to Yang Yi-Lin of China. Stiliana Nistor has fallen to third, still solid. And then there's Shawn Johnson, 0.75 behind. Where does she make that back?
Well, she makes it back on both balance beam and floor. If you take a look at what she has done thus far at the Olympic Games, certainly comparable to Yang Yi-Lin, she can make that up with scores that have already happened. Now, Nastia, if you take a look at the lead she has at this point over Shawn, I think if she just performs cleanly from this point on, we're only at halftime though, if she performs cleanly from here on, she's got the advantage.
The draw places Shawn Johnson, 16 years of age, from West Des Moines, Iowa. Waiting for the green flag.
Shawn has said that she loves the pressure. It reminds her every day of what she has trained for. And so far at these Olympic Games, if there was one event I'd have to say she has been most confident on, it's balance beam.
Here we go. Big moment right here, all the way across the beam. Perfect. Been like that every single time.
Of course, one of her other risky skills coming up. Right here, her full twist.
Oh, that is the first even balance check that we have seen from Shawn Johnson. Not a big deduction,
but a significant one for her.
So she has actually had 2 different start scores at the Olympics on beam. One day she got a 6.9. The next she got a 7.0, and it was because of this turn. If she lands at the end with her leg up like that, this start score should be 7.0, which in a sport that's all about tenths and even smaller, that is critical.
And the highest score that she's received in those 2 days on balance beam was a 16.175, just the dismount.
Hasn't stuck this yet. Once again, small step on the landing. That is only a 1/10 step, but
it's a 1/10 step.
Yes, exactly. You know, we saw other gymnasts competing on balance beam, and the scores actually looked a little bit looser. I hate to say this, but throughout these Olympic Games, for some reason, the international judges seem to not like the look maybe as much of Shawn Johnson. Beautiful.
Yeah, huge. It's powerful. It's tumbling on a 4-inch wide balance beam.
So this is that back with a full. And what she's trying to do on this is get her chest up. She's been receiving a deduction because as she lands this, I don't know how they think you can land with your chest up on this, but you see it way down there. She's trying to get it up very quickly.
Such a risky move.
And I think because of that, she has that small little balance check, but you saw how she is leaning forward when she lands.
And like we said in the team finals, this full turn done right up on releve. Look at that. She
crazy.
Saves that crazy,
that is
but
crazy.
held the leg up. That was the important part.
Dismount. Really the only one I've seen do this, a full twisting double. But she has yet to stick this landing at the Olympic Games. That's a 10th.
Tim, you pointed out the mistakes that we could see on the replays, but what is it about her style that the international judges might not like?
I have absolutely no idea. There is one area, and you see the 7.0 difficulty. She gets that. The score 16.05, but they still found almost 1 point off in deductions. There are 2 places. That back with a full, with her chest landing low, and then some of the leaps that she does not show enough flexibility, and they have been harsh.
Right off the top.
On one of the easiest mounts that you can do, just jumping up to the balance beam.
Jing Yan-Yuan, 6th place after the second rotation, and considering where she started with a 14.825 on the vault, that is amazing.
She's the Chinese national all-around champion. She also won the test event in this very arena.
She is about 8/10 out of medal contention. That's a lot.
But she's having already a few of these little balance checks. We've seen 3 already.
And that last one that she did one element, had a balance check, then did a leap. And because she didn't connect the 2 skills, she'll lose, in addition to the deduction, she'll lose a connection value as well.
These are these full turns that have been giving so many athletes problems, and another balance check right there. Drop the leg very quickly.
This is a very nervy balance beam exercise. A lot of adrenaline flowing through her body, and not a great routine for her.
Her highest score at the Olympic Games so far has been a 15.25 on balance beam.
And that really certainly shouldn't do anything more than that.
So that comeback stalls, and medal hopes may be ruined by what happened on the floor exercise moments ago with Romania's Steliana Nistor, who was in bronze medal position after the second rotation.
And actually this you know, a weaker routine. She does some hard tumbling. Watch this. This is a double layout. Very nicely done. But a 14.5 on floor. We're going to see gymnasts do much better than that.
Steliana's been hampered by some back problems that date back to 2005. She came to these Olympic Games really not able to practice as much as she had hoped to. She's been having some back spasms, she told us.
And this pass, big triple full.
Out of bounds.
You step out of bounds. You get a deduction for the step, first of all, and then if you cross that line, the line is in. You get another 1/10 of a point if 1 foot goes out. If 2 feet go out, 3/10 of a point. And the really bad thing, if you land out of bounds, as Alicia Sacramone did, it is a full half point off.
And that floor exercise routine by Steliana Nistor of Romania received a 14.45. That not good. Back we go to balance beam, where Zhang Yuanyuan gets a 15.425. Should I be confused?
Yeah, that's a little high.
Because I'm confused. You know, we've heard Bella talking a lot about the scoring, and I do not understand that. That routine basically had the same amount of deductions as Shawn Johnson, and there were several, more than several, balance checks in the exercise. That's wrong. I don't know what's going on.
It's got some help from the judges.
One more Chinese gymnast to go on the balance beam, Yang Yilin. And she was the leader after the first 2 rotations. Well, human nature, you wonder what it would do to you if you knew that the judges had given you a score that you thought you deserved better. Could you really just have that kind of memory and erase it?
Well, you know, a lot of athletes don't look, and you know, you don't have to. The one advantage that she's got, she's already done with 3. She is the last performer to go on the floor exercise, so she will know exactly what she needs to either win the gold, silver, or bronze. We saw a shot of Yang Yilin a minute ago. She has only scored a 15.5 at these Olympic Games on balance beam. So you compare that to Nastia, who's been right at that 16 level, and what we just saw from Shawn. So forecasting a little bit, the likelihood that she is going to not drop down a little bit, it's extremely, that's what should happen.
Everybody has their own way of getting set for the moment. Shawn Johnson and Liang Chao, who grew up here in Beijing, moved to the United States after competing in the United States for China, took a job coaching at Iowa State, and then finally opened his own gym. And unbelievably, 2 months after he opens his own gym, who comes bouncing through the door at the age of 6? Shawn Johnson.
You know, Shawn says that one of her goals was to come back here with her coach, one of her best friends. She's called him her second dad, and to let her and Chao show the Chinese people that what a success that he has become in the United States of America.
So far, it has not gone the way that Shawn Johnson had envisioned it. It has been all China in the gold medals so far. Both team competitions, the men's all-around yesterday, Yang Wei. The women were here watching Yang Wei do it. They were here watching the men do it. It had to give them every reason to believe that they, individually, could do it as well. And now Ksenia Semenova, who was in the always dreaded 4th position after the second rotation, right behind Steliana Nistor. But she knows, unless she is in her own zone, that Nistor has only scored in the 14s on floor exercise.
Well, definitely this young lady is very good on balance beam. Remember, I mentioned at the World Championship, she only did 2 events for the Russians, bars and balance beam. This event so far, her best score has been a 15.775.
But she has floor exercise coming up, and it is certainly her weakest event. At the Olympics, her best score there, 14.475. Best event is certainly the uneven bars, which we saw her on earlier. She's reigning world champion. And as has been par for the course at these Olympic Games, the judges are on the phone.
And explain what they're doing again.
Well, the judges on the floor are just looking at the routine as it happens live. Over at the technical table, where the FIG technical committee members sit, there is a head judge that looks at all of the routines, and you see right there on the right of your screen, that is Nellie Kim. That is where the FIG technical committees sit. She is the president of the technical committee for women, and they obviously don't agree with either the start score, the A score, or the B score, the deductions that were given for the last exercise. They have the ability to completely stop the competition, to tell them to conference again, or to tell them, like it just did, to lower the score.
Now the score in question is that of another Russian, Anna Pavlova, who was 10th after the second rotation. So if this gets devalued, her chances to move up are diminished. But if it gets a higher number, obviously that's the kind of news that she wants. What would you say? Most of the times when they talk about it, it looks as though it comes down.
It does.
But not in the case of Pavlova, who was just given a 15.975, allowing Semenova to start.
Ksenia has some of the most exact and precise movements on balance beam. She's very confident and sure of herself on this event.
Just to put it in perspective, that score for Pavlova, the highest we've seen on beam. Other than Shawn Johnson's 16.05.
And that was the first little body check. I was just about to say we haven't seen any signs of pressure. Same skill that we'll see shortly from Nastia Liukin.
Very nicely done, a little bit off, but great control in that handstand. Dismount here.
It's a great set.
Very strong.
Strong routine.
Very strong.
Next on the beam, the leader, Yang Lin, and then the final performer will be Nastia Liukin. So, bring us up to date on your overall feeling about things as we stand right now.
Well, Nastia has to do a balance beam routine, and as we've said over and over again, that's 4 inches wide. She's been phenomenal since she's been here in Beijing, but I have to say that looking at what's ahead of us, she is in second position behind Yang Lin. But I think that if she goes up, rocks the balance beam routine, and then is able to stay clean on the floor exercise, I would say the advantage is definitely in Nastia Liukin's corner.
And now the leader, Yang Lin. Semenova, another big Russian score, 15.925.
They came up with that one pretty quickly.
Remember, the highest score Yang Yilin has received on the balance beam so far is a 15.5. You take that and you factor in the best score that Nastia has had so far, and if they do what they've both done, Nastia would lead after 3.
Solid. Those nasty full turns.
Yeah, she will lose a 1/10 of a point in start value for that. She should. And
Difficult
she'll get a
combination.
deduction.
Another one. It's a tough combination.
So those are visible errors. And that right there, that is too long. She was supposed to connect those two elements. But we've seen some kooky things with the balance beam scores today,
Well, if the judges wanted to be picky, they could definitely take that connection.
Yeah, well, they should take that one.
Just a dismount, 2.5 twists. It's beatable.
So, Tim, I roughly heard you and Elfie count off about 5 deductions.
No question. And, you know, she comes to this event with a start value of 6.5. We saw Shawn Johnson had a 7.0. Now, Nastia is capable of a 6.7. That's what they're capable of. That's what their routine is supposed to. Now, if they don't connect an element, then it goes down a little bit.
You get balance checks, and those mean something to the judges. They should be putting their pens down on paper.
Oh, it is the balance beam.
Yes. So this very difficult combination, but that is a visible error. Going to be a 1/10 of a point.
Nastia Lukin has to wait for the score to be posted. Shawn Johnson has to think about floor exercise. 15.3 would put Yang Yilin into the lead in front of Shawn Johnson.
From the way we've been seeing the scores coming down, I would say it's going to get it. I don't know.
15.75.
It's way too high.
Now, it's important to note that just because we're in China, there are not more Chinese judges on the floor judging. I have to say that relative to what we have seen, that's too high. Again.
Nastia Lukin can't think about it.
Beautiful. Here's her attempt at that full turn.
Nastia needs exactly what she has scored at the highest to take the lead, and that is a 15.975.
She's already done it, so it's certainly possible.
Beautiful, much better from the team finals.
Tricky combination right here.
Here comes her signature skill. Really defines her beauty and her grace and all that she combines in this routine with her acrobatic skills. And I have to say, this dismount, she has been landing very well in the competition so far. Wow! Stunning! The best.
If that does not get it, then there is something wrong. We have seen routine after routine that shows visible errors, balance checks.
Yeah.
Where were they in that one? I want to know.
Well, we couldn't get on the phone fast enough. Tim, explain the types of things that they're saying on the phone.
Well, there was one part in her routine where she does a skill called an anodi. She's standing forward. She jumps with a half turn, and then she connects it to another skill, typically, but she certainly did not connect it. So I would say that this is going to be a 6.6 start value. The judges already know her routine, and possibly they want to make sure that the judges on the floor do not award a 6.7 start value.
But come on, that routine and what she did in terms of beauty, it just doesn't compare. That's the best in the world.
I have to agree with you 100%. And Nellie Kim, the president of the technical committee, is getting off the phone and walking over to the event.
That was a definitive walk.
Yeah. I'm thinking that they're going to give a big score here. I'm hopeful that they recognize how magnificent that exercise was.
It was like ballet.
It was.
That's exactly what it is.
And a 16.125.
9.425 B score. I think it's the highest one that we've seen.
And Nastia Liukin has the lead with just the floor exercise to go.
And Al, actually, they gave her a 6.7 difficulty.
It all comes down to the floor exercise of her life. Shawn Johnson is in third place, 0.35 behind Yang Yi-Lin of China. So once again, it is the women of the United States against China for all the glory in the women's all-around.
At the broadcast center with Bella Caroli, you were holding your breath a little bit when you saw Nellie Kim, the chairwoman of the technical committee, come over in the red jacket. You have a long history with her. When Nadia Comaneci won the gold in the all-round in 1976, she took the silver, speaking of Kim, for the Soviet Union. You were a little concerned, but as it turned out, the marks for Liukin put her into the lead.
And I believe, she deserves to be there. There's no doubt about that. It was the best routine, executed superbly. I'm a little bit unsatisfied on Shawn's routine. For a little small balance check after a very difficult skill, a full twisting somersault, got a brutal deduction, and that's really, they moved her, according to my opinion, at this point from the contention for the gold.
All right, so now Shawn Johnson finds herself in third place, 0.6 of a point behind Nastia Liukin. Earlier we were talking about a decision she and her coach would have to make. Really now it's almost no decision. She had been leaving a twist out of one of her tumbling passes earlier. Now she almost has to put it back in and go for the higher risk reward, right?
Well, that's right. They have no choice. They have to put everything in it in order to squeeze the highest score on the floor. In the previous two competitions, yes, they played to safety because that was very important for the team to be solid. But now they cannot risk anymore. Go girl for it. She can do it.
Watch her in warm-ups. Is she doing it here in warm-ups?
We will see it in a minute. This is a combination. It's not extremely difficult combination, but it's in the middle of the routine where she's already tired. Well, this is another pass. It's not what we are talking about. She's already tired, and that's why it's so important for a good execution. That's why they took it out, not somehow to deduct.
Bottom line, she's got to go for broke.
That's right. No, she got to go.
All right.
Very good.
And we go to Al.
And Bob, it couldn't be closer at the top. Nastia Liukin has a lead of 0.15. Shawn Johnson 0.16 behind. Yi-Lin of China in silver medal position. Shawn just 0.05 in front of Semenova of Russia. And here's the lineup for floor exercise. Jiang Yuan in 5th position, about a point back. Then Anna Pavlova of Russia. Then we'll see Ksenia Semenova of Russia. Semenova is in 4th position. Then it gets really interesting because the final 3 are Yang Yi-Lin, then Nastia Liukin, and then Shawn Johnson will be the final performer here in the 4th rotation.
And we talked about at the top of the show that Shawn Johnson has been leaving out a tumbling run. Well, in warm-ups, she has most definitely added it back in.
And it looked great.
She needs all of those extra tenths. She is, I can't even believe it, but she is trailing Nastia Liukin by 0.6 of a point. It's a very big margin.
How has Nastia looked in warm-up?
Well, you know what? Her tumbling actually has looked pretty good. She had one mistake, but the thing that was bad is 2 or 3 times she stepped out of bounds, and that's not what she wants to do.
The warm-ups are over. Valeri Liukin says some last words to his daughter. Jiang Yuan has to perform to her absolute best and then hope for someone to stumble badly.
And what you will be in for with this routine is it's very entertaining. This young lady is energetic. She has an infectious smile, and she'll really draw you into her routine.
Her day started horribly when she sat down, landing on the vault.
But really, it's such a fun routine to watch.
Right from the beginning.
Wow, and that was a very big mistake on a relatively easy dance turn.
Didn't have the same kind of sparkle as she had in the team finals.
Well, still a darling routine, but she needed to make up a lot of ground, and she definitely should not.
And the best score that she had in the competition so far has only been a 15-2 on floor.
Now, floor exercise has been probably the lowest scoring event of women's gymnastics. Here is her mount. Now she'll do a triple twist right here. That was pretty good, just that step, but what was really kind of silly is this is just a relatively easy turn.
But it counts, and we can't just focus on tumbling all the time. These are skills that are still part of the routine, and they're just as important.
I don't know what they even call that skill, because it wasn't like she did she was trying to do a triple turn. It wasn't like she did a 2.5 so they could devalue it. She did like a double turn. It was just so off balance. I don't know what they do there, but it certainly will be significant.
Yang Yi-Lin trailing by 0.15 of a point. Jiang Yuan a 14.775. Is that fair?
I would say so. I would say so. They certainly deducted significantly on that. Like I said, though, Al, she needed to make up a lot of ground, and she's not going to.
We stay on floor exercise with back-to-back Russians. The first one is Anna Pavlova. After the 3 rotations, she's in 7th spot.
Last event for her tonight, but we will see her 3 times, vault, balance beam, and on this event in the event finals. Beautiful.
Gosh, that was a beautiful classic Russian style. Anna was 4th in the all-around at the Olympic Games in Athens. You know, she reminds me of the 1996 all-around champion Lilia Podkopayeva, who was from the Ukraine. The same qualities.
When the Soviets were at the peak of gymnastics, we saw routine after routine that evoked the same passion. You could feel it in their gymnastics, and frankly, we haven't seen that from the Russians in a while. We just saw it there, though.
What's Shawn Johnson thinking right now?
Well, she's thinking she has to do the absolute best routine of her entire life. Nastia Liukin leads by 0.6 of a point. She has to just get through the routine, put about 4 or 5 tumbling passes right to her feet, and I would say she'll be hard to beat. She has a definite advantage, Nastia does, on Yang Yilin. She's leading, got a 1/10.5, which, you know, it's close, but if you look at what has happened so far in these championships on floor exercise, Nastia should be okay.
Don't you also have to be thinking that you do not want to leave anything open to interpretation?
Well, no, I mean, the way they've been judging, you never do in the Olympic all-around final.
And you would hate for anything to come down to a step out of bounds. And that has happened quite a bit on floor exercise.
15.05 for Pavlova. And now the real game begins. Ksenia Semenova only 5/100ths of a point behind Shawn Johnson's 3rd place standing. It's king of the hill right now. Semenova needs a 13.75 to take the lead, and barring anything horrible, she should do that.
Well, she did her job, I'll tell you.
Put on the Ritz.
Everybody knew she'd be contending on the uneven bars, but few people thought that she would be in the hunt for a medal in the all-around. She's done a great job.
Not many people thought she was really a threat for the all-around because last year at the World Championships, only 2 events, but she has come on so strongly since those Worlds last September.
Finally, Russia doing something in gymnastics.
Now there are only 3 left to go, and they are the ones who are in the top 3 positions. Now remember, this draw was done with a seeding before the competition even began, and it could not have been drawn up in any more of a dramatic fashion. Yang Yilin trailing Nastia Liukin coming into this final event by 0.15. That is a step and a little bit of something else.
That's it. Yeah, a small step.
Waiting for Semenova's score. Wow, this feels like a lifetime for Shawn Johnson and Nastia Liukin. Semenova 14.775 show. She right now is the de facto leader, but that will change.
No question.
Yang Yilin needs better than a 14.275 to take the lead from Semenova.
Which she can do. She scored a 15-0 already in the competition. For a little perspective, Nastia has scored 15.35. Shawn Johnson, 15.425.
about wow?
Yeah, I tell you, she has refused to step aside.
You know what's incredible? The only significant stat on her resume is last year's World Championships, where she was 6th in the all-around.
Yeah, Coach Liu, the head coach for Chinese gymnastics, said everybody's talking about Nastia and Sean, but we have some gymnasts too. Don't forget about Yang Yilin.
She's not going to be 6th today, and remember on that first day of qualification, we said that that day was the one that sets up everything. A foundation for greatness for some, like Nastia Liukin and Sean Johnson. Their performances on the day of qualification have given them this chance to know that they have to be that good and better to beat Yang Yilin for the gold medal.
But there was one pass in that exercise that was very questionable. She did a rebounding skill and then another one, and she bent her knees in the air. Now, they could call that a tuck somersault, and it would be okay, not a big deduction. But if they were thinking that it was laid out and the knees were tucked because of an error, it could be significant.
All right, now the best Yang Yilin has done so far is a 15 flat. So anything above that increases the pressure on Nastia Liukin to be better than she's been so far.
Right.
A 15 flat. So now if Nastia and Sean simply do what they've done in these Olympics so far, Liukin could be the gold medal winner and Sean Johnson silver. Nastia Liukin needs a 14.85 to take the lead from Yang Yilin. She has scored a 15.35. This is it. Floor exercise of a lifetime.
Land on your feet and stay in bounds.
Oh, baby. That could be a routine that we are watching for generations.
Well, she's got at least a silver medal. There is no question about that. She gets a big, long-deserved hug from her dad. He says that second, though, is the worst in the world. Only one color works for this family. And I'll tell you what, she has done everything that she could do to win her ultimate goal, her ultimate dream. Her dad told me 4 years ago, yes, we've been training our whole lives to be Olympic all-around champion. She's done everything that she could to bring that about.
The number she needs is better than a 14.85.
That's to move in front of Yang Yilin, which if she doesn't do, I'll fall down dead right here, because that was much better than that. I tell you, though, it has put tremendous pressure on Sean Johnson.
All eyes are on the scoreboard at the corner of floor exercise. here shortly before 1 o'clock in the afternoon on what is a gorgeous day in Beijing. Nastia Liukin forced to wait some more. And she gets it.
Well deserved.
15.525. Wow. And now Shawn Johnson needs a 16.125 to knock the gold medal off of Nastia Liukin's neck. Is that possible?
Frankly, Al, it's not possible. Nastia Liukin is the Olympic all-around champion.
And that is because Shawn's start value, there's that phrase again, is not high enough.
It's not. She has...
All right, so let's talk about what she needs to take the silver medal. That's a 15.45. That's got to be great.
Beautiful.
Here is the pass that she has not done in competition since she arrived in Beijing. Obviously has to do it. No problem.
And it's great.
Phenomenal routine. What a champion.
She did it under a great deal of pressure.
How about a perfect 10 lady? Mary Lou Retton. Boy, we have gymnastics royalty in the building today. Look how relieved it all comes flowing out.
Well, it was a beautiful routine. She needs a doable score to move into the silver. A stratospheric score for the bronze, for the gold.
That was almost as good as she can do it.
That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Both of them.
It's a hard thing to do. Not since Lilia Podkopaeva in 1996 has a reigning world champion gone on to win an Olympic all-around title.
But on the shortest of lists, Mary Lou Retton, Carly Patterson, and a third American. An American dream that was born in Moscow. One that was born in West Des Moines, Iowa. Nurtured by a man who was born in China. Wow, crazy international storylines crossed. What color is it going to be? She makes this connection in the stands. Wow.
That's a pretty good shout out.
A 15.525. That means in back-to-back Olympics, the Olympic all-around gold medalist has come from the capital of the sport for now, Plano, Texas. Nastia Liukin joins Mary Lou and Carly.
People can't believe their friends. They really are two great champions. They came in, they said, We've been dreaming about going 1-2. They both have said that they weren't fighting to win a silver medal.
And they both said they pushed each other this entire year. Nationals, Olympic trials, they needed each other to come to this point.
It's been 20 years since her dad won an Olympic gold medal.
Shawn Johnson wins the silver medal, and look at the distance between her and bronze. 0.075. That's one simple step. Yang Yi-Lin, the bronze medal. Shawn Johnson, 15.525. Imagine what Nastia Liukin has been through. She's already making a connection with her mom, most likely, who cannot bear to watch. Imagine mom not watching that. We will stay live through the medal ceremony. It'll take them some time. The mascots will come out. We can talk about this long, emotional journey. It all started with a vault, stuck landing, and then we looked at the score and said, what was up with that? But she overcame it all to win the Olympic all-around gold medal, Nastia Liukin.
This season, no one is safe.
They're villains, Claire.
Heroes premieres Monday, September 22nd on NBC.
I can't sprint! Help me! I can't! Thanks.
Amazing savings. Get Comcast Digital Voice Local with more calling plan for just $24.95 per month every month. Get unlimited local and long-distance calls with a low per-minute rate. Because the less money you pay, the more you get to keep for yourself. Just call 1-800-COMCAST. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic.
In the Bay Area, we have a lot of diversity and we have so many opportunities.
No matter where I go, I can hear people speaking different languages. There are people here from all over the world.
When I came to Bay Area, I see all culture, all faces in here. They're willing to learn and share.
It's great for our kids to grow up in such a society.
We have such a magnificent collection of people.
To me, I just feel like home here.
They can both barely get out the words, and if I'm not mistaken, Nastia Liukin has already sent out her first text message about what has happened to her on this beautiful afternoon in Beijing, China.
You know, 4 years ago.
How about that one?
Yeah.
She's born in Moscow, where Pavlova and Semenova come from and represent. And at the age of 2.5, she comes to the United States, nurtures her thing in Plano, Texas, watches Carly Patterson leave the gym one day, go to Athens, and come back with a gold medal. And now she does exactly the same thing. Buy stock in Woga. It's up. Tim, for a while there, it looked as though Yang Yi-Lin had the Chinese magic working.
Yeah, they have. The Chinese have been brilliant here in Beijing, you know, performing in front of their home crowd. They have been so empowered. She actually did a great job, but the Americans, they were better.
We'll be back live for the medal ceremony here at the National Indoor Stadium. The United States goes gold, silver, and China the bronze.
This fall, the final season of ER will be full of surprises. ER, the final season, Thursday, September 25th on NBC.
The event is now on, but it won't last forever. The Lexus Summer Sales Event, where you'll find the best values of the year now through September 2nd. Lease the 2008 IS250 for $339 a month for 36 months with $29.99 due at signing.
Olympic fever. Have you caught it?
You want some more of this sick of it?
Millions glued to their TV sets, but there's action you may be missing.
This is Command Central, Bird's Nest Cam, the internet, men's water polo.
Captivating games, unexpected heroes. Lauren Scott brings you the Olympics behind the Olympics. And a lot of it streaming online live.
Chad Osterman Fan Club.
Tonight, after the games on NBC Bay Area News.
We've seen so far here clean air and, at least for one day, we hope more, blue skies beyond the Forbidden City. You can actually see the mountains. And we will shortly see two Americans atop the medal stand, gold and silver. First time that has ever happened in this women's competition. And here is Bella Caroli, and you said it beforehand, talking about Shawn Johnson. Let's backtrack to the silver here for a second, that she would have to take a risk to get the gold. As it turned out, she needed that risk just to hold off the Chinese woman for the silver.
That's right. The strategic decision was done on the right time, on the right place. She executed that flow routine superbly. She fully deserved that silver. Of course, you know, the gold was so much open, and it was so close to both of them that I can't blame any of them for anything, whatever could do more or less. They done everything, whatever was possible. Congratulations, girls. Great job.
By the way, don't roll it yet. Don't roll it. Hold on a second. If you think this is something, there's almost a sport within a sport here, and that sport is watching Bella watch gymnastics. This was as it happened live.